Good morning. 2 years ago, 13-year-old Shannen Koostachin stood here and pleaded with the government for a school. She came with a group of grade 8 students from Ottawa First Nation to find out why, after 10 years of promises, the government had walked away on its commitment to build them a school. They called themselves the Forgotten Children, children being educated in makeshift portables on a toxic brownfield. But they didn't know that across northern Canada, other First Nation children were falling through the cracks just like them. They didn't know that the shortfall in capital funding for First Nation schools is over $189 million a year. But the minister opened their eyes. He told them that building a school for children in their community wasn't a priority for his government. And young Shannen surprised everyone when she told him that answer wasn't good enough and that children weren't going to give up the fight. And they unleashed what became the largest youth-driven child's right movement in Canadian history. And at the age of 14, Shannen Koostachin was nominated for the International Children's Peace Prize because she became the voice of a generation of children who've been abandoned by substandard, underfunded education. Shannen unfortunately never lived to see the school built in her community. She passed away this spring. But out of her grief, something extraordinary happened. Leaders in education, Aboriginal rights, children's rights, labor came together to honor the legacy of this young woman. Shannen, you came to Parliament looking for a partner, looking for a champion to help the children. Well, Shannen, your partners are here today. The Assembly of First Nations, the Elementary Teachers Federation, the Secondary School Teachers Federation, the English Catholic Teachers, the Ottawa Catholic Board, the Canada Public School Boards Association, the Ontario School Boards Association, the Ontario Federation of Labour, the Canadian Labour Congress, the Youth Child's Advocate Office, First Nation Child and Family Caring Society, CUPE. We are here today to commit to Shannen's dream, which is Parliamentary Motion 571, that will close the funding gaps in First Nation education and guarantee every child in this country the right to quality, equitable education. No child should ever have to plead for the right to a good school. Shannen Koostachin, this was your dream, and we're going to carry this on.
Shannen had a dream. Her dream was that there would be safe and comfy schools, as she put it, in her community. And not only her community, but in other communities. We are very concerned about the gap in First Nation education compared to the non-native education system, provincially and federally. 48 new schools are required across the country. 29 schools need renovation. In our area, we need 2 schools, Adawapskat being one of them. We need renovations. We need good, comfy schools, and that was Shannen's dream. There are no dollars for such basic things that other communities and other schools provincially in cities take for granted. For example, libraries, computers, extracurricular activities, no funding. They have to rob Peter to pay Paul to do those things that are very basic for everybody else. This is an investment. It's an investment in the future, and this is what Shannen talked about, that we want to be valuable contributing members to the Canadian society. And the only way they can do that, we can do that, she said, is that having the proper resources and good, comfy schools to make it right.
Wachia, my name is Chelsea Edwards. I am 15 years old, and I am from Adawapskat First Nation. This fall, I left my home and family so that I could get a proper education. I am enrolled at Ecole Secondary Cochrane High School as a grade 10 student. I knew that if I didn't leave, I wouldn't have the chance at a better future. You see, I was educated in portables that were unwelcoming, unsafe, and disruptive. I didn't want to fall behind in my education. Let me tell you about Shannen Koostachin. She was one of my good friends and partner. We both shared the same dream. We both wanted to become lawyers. Shannen inspired us. She said we shouldn't have to beg for equal rights. She believed there was no reason for children to be forgotten because Canadians pride themselves on looking out for other people, no matter where they are in the world. But people need to know what has been happening to children in reserves all across Canada. Our school was condemned and the ground contaminated. In our portable, we had to eat our lunch and use the washroom in the same room where we had our classes. We were forced to wear winter jackets to stay warm, and we had mice running around us. in class. School was an unwelcoming place to be, and as a result, many children would refuse to go. Children had given up hope and faith in themselves. This is going on in First Nation communities across Canada. It's not right, and we must change it. Perhaps you have heard the story of how Rosa Parks helped start the civil rights movement. Well, we are the children who have been sitting at the back of the school bus our whole lives, and we don't want to stay there anymore. That is why we are here today to launch Shannen's Dream. Shannen's Dream is about inspiring our Aboriginal students. One spark can light the fire inside every single Aboriginal student. It's not just about the students in Attawapscut. It's about freedom, equality, justice for children in every reserve across Canada. So today, I ask for your support. Shannen said we can change the world if we tried. Let's make her dream become a reality for those of you who want to make a difference. Stand with us hand in hand. One spark starts a fire. Thank you much.
2 years ago, at this very place, 3 members of our youth representing our community stood here before you. My daughter was one of them. She stood and pleaded with the federal government to get a new school for our community. And out of the mouth of these youth came a voice so strong, a voice so raw and honest that it reached all Canadians, especially the youth, the young people of Canada, because not only they used the internet, but also there was a letter campaign that was started. And this created the first and biggest youth movement in Canada. And the simple message was, we need a school. We need a good education. Because these are our future. These young people are our future for our country. And it shouldn't be no different of who you are. Every person in this country deserves access to good education, good quality education. And that's what my daughter stood for. And in the midst of heavy hearts, to see her dream carry on brings comfort to us all. Because her fight will continue. And that day will come when her dream will become a reality. Thank you.
I'm representing the Ontario Public School Boards Association, the trustees. I'm so proud to be here standing with you, however, with my fellow education leaders, OSSTF, ATFO. The Ontario Student Trustees Association is also here tonight, this morning. And we are standing together because we all understand that education in this country is a right. And it needs to be protected, it needs to be defended, and it needs to be upheld. And that is not happening on First Nations reserves. You may ask yourself why public school board trustees care so much about this issue. Because our schools are well funded. We have schools, we have gymnasiums, we have cafeterias, we have libraries. Our teachers are well educated and supported, and they deliver a public education system in the province of Ontario that makes a difference in the lives of children. Well, we want the same for First Nations children. We want the same because, not only because it is the right thing to do and it's the right thing to fight for, but those students transition into our public schools having not received the same rights and the same privileges as public education students. So we, by coming into our system and not being prepared, they're being set up to fail. It is almost equivalent to a cycle of abuse. So I stand here before you today pledging the support of the Ontario Public School Boards Association. Education is a right in this country, and the discrepancy between the provincial school system and the federal, the way INAC funds First Nations, cannot be denied. Shannen inspired so many people, And she reminded us that our futures are connected in this country and that we share a collective responsibility for children and their right to education. Thank you very much.